the Golden Girls. We love that. This is Act Two. For those of you who were not here, and for those of you who were, we're just gonna pretend. Love that. hmm Right here. We good? Okay. I believe that heaven smells like my grandmother's kitchen on Sunday afternoons. Watch pots never boil. One of many lessons she taught me from the womb. She prepared our plates for the nourishment of our bodies, and she prepared our souls for these uncertain times to behold. Each meal was made with love, served with a side of proverbs, seasoned with sage advice, and sometimes even sprinkled with tough love. See, she minced garlic, not words. She spoke softly, but was always heard. She loved us fiercely with all of her might, and she bridged gaps with clasped fists that brought down the thunder in one hand, an olive branch in the other down to the ark of our safety like dove. Key ingredient to vibranium, one of her hugs, while constantly reminding us of the greatness that we are made of. Life's a marathon, baby. It's not a race. She would also often say, to remind me to steady my pace so I don't burn out too soon. Hi, my name is Harvey, and my days have gotten so much better. Honestly, how are you? That's that piece. And as a special request, this next super short piece is written specifically for anyone who, for whatever reason, has ever taken the passenger or the back seat to the journey along your life. It's titled Take Up Space. I speak to the imposter syndrome in your lives, that shadow lurking in your lungs, whispering doubt into every inhale, causing you to choke on your own greatness. I call it out by name: liar, thief, silencer of brilliance. You are not some mistake stitched together by luck. You are not an accident of circumstance tripping into rooms where you do not belong. Nah, you were sent, hand delivered by destiny, wrapped in resilience, signed in purpose, sealed in the echo of ancestors who knew one day you'd stand right here. So stand. Straighten your back like it remembers the weight of royalty on it. Walk like this earth was designed to hold you up. Speak like this world was carved from the bones of the ancestors, dreams that they weren't allowed to chase. You are proof that prayers don't just rise. Sometimes they land. And don't you dare shrink. Don't you dare fold yourself up into apologies just to appease small minds. You are not too much. They are simply unprepared. And if that fraud tries to creep back in, tell it I was chosen. Tell it I am not afraid. Tell it I am worthy. And then walk like the world was waiting on you this whole time. Poem. Thank y'all so very much. Again, my name is Sir Harvey Fitz, and I am now going to turn it over into the hands of Miss Vida. Give it up for Miss Vida, please. Come on up, please. Yeah.
We have water here for you. So there's water here behind you. You can help her up, please, Sir Harvey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Baby,
Melvin
is Harvey gonna go?
Vintage.
Yeah, sit next to me. Come on this way, this way. This way is easier.
Yeah, you got it? Oh, you got it.
Right.
You got it.
Do some moves here.
Yeah, I see that.
Put this link in somewhere. Thank you.
Yes. Look at me real quick. One more. Awesome.
Picture's taken.
All right. All right.
Can you guys?
That's AC. We're good.
Listen, we asked for tribal.
Every AC.
I did ask for the drum. That was funny, the time.
Yeah, just bring the water. Yeah, it's distilled water. Yeah.
You guys ready to start?
I love these things. And they're not plastic, which is good. It's like a very thin metal.
Is she streaming?
It's good. It's really good. Here, I'll put some for you.
Oh, you ready? So good evening, everyone, and welcome tonight. For those of you who made it in spite of the weather, we truly, truly appreciate it. You're in for a treat, though. So we have a panel discussion, as you can see, with the wonderful panelists. And tonight we're going to discuss entrepreneurship, activism, community, passion, and of course, barbecue, as we celebrate the first annual National Barbecue Week in DC, and it's culminating with the giant barbecue battle this weekend. So now let's meet our panelists. Let's start with celebrity chef Huda. Everyone here probably knows her. She's a sister to me, but for those of you who may not know, she is an award-winning chef. She's an author. She is a TV personality. And what I think is absolutely amazing, if you have not tried it, is her spices, her sauces, and I eat off her dishes. She has a designer dinnerware that's absolutely beautiful as well. And then we have my beautiful mother-in-law, Virginia Ali. For those of you who don't know, she co-founded Ben's Chili Bowl with my father-in-law in 1958, and she's now 91 years old, young. Yeah. And then we have Melvin. Melvin is a pitmaster. He opened DCity Smokehouse in 2013, and now he has 2 locations. So and along with a truck, that's right. And he has his own barbecue sauce as well. So we'll hear a little bit more about that. And of course, we in Andy's home. You guys know him as a social activist. I know him as family. But I'm so proud of him because he uses his space, and we'll hear more about him, to just make social change. He serves amazing food, but I'm proud how he uses his space. And we'll hear a little bit more about it later, as he says, I can't help it. It's just what I wake up and do. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So my first question for each of you is, what is the why behind your restaurant or business? And how has that purpose shaped the way you run your business?
Oh, great question. You guys hear me?
No,
Microphone next to you. Is it on? Is it on?
there.
I'm loud. I can just talk really loud if you guys want. You hear it? Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us and putting this wonderful panel together. Round of applause for everyone on the panel. Round of applause for yourself coming out in this weather. Purpose was taught to me at a very young age. I grew up with a mother who was an entrepreneur. And when I tell you she wouldn't take no for an answer, she wouldn't take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. I had a unique childhood. I grew up the oldest of 3 siblings and the only girl. And my mother had a health food store. And at the age of 10, I could run the health food store. I could run the deli. I could do customer service. I could do all the things besides file taxes for the business. But that foundation started me on a path to care about my community. and to always give back to the community. My mother had us doing charity events from the time I was little. Even when I didn't want to do them, we still did them because it was always about what can you contribute to the world and how you can make a positive change in other people's lives. So as I grew and changed my career a million and one times, food was always my constant. It's the way I show love. It's the way I show admiration. And it's one of the few tools that you can change the world with. So I'm very honored to do what I do. And anyone who knows me knows that no matter what I do, there's always a purpose behind it. And the purpose is always to inspire and empower other people.
It's beautiful. No.
Hello, everyone. We're still hello.
Yeah, you put it real close. Yeah.
Got to put it close. All right. And ditto. Everything you said. I think it matches very well. At the end of the day, it's been about hospitality for the Southeast Restaurant Group, DCity Smokehouse. In college, going through matriculation of Morehouse College in Atlanta, it was all about, dinner parties and, entertaining and, just really doing what we're doing here, having a good meal and connecting with people. So I knew I always wanted to do that. Coming out of college, I went into the corporate world and, did the corporate thing for a couple of decades now. But I always had this desire to bring people together. So Southeast Restaurant Group, Revive Events and Catering, DCity Smokehouse, everything has been about, providing a good time for people, bringing people together, sharing some good recipes, some good food, and having a good time in the process. So that's really that has been our why throughout the process.
Hi, I'm Virginia Alley. Everybody calls me Mom. I grew up on my dad's 300-acre farm, which gave me a great work ethic, of course. Came from a family of loving parents, and living on that farm, it taught you the quality of life, the food that we ate. I remember as a little girl, the only thing we needed from the store to buy were the things we didn't produce, and that was coffee, tea, sugar, salt, and vanilla. So we grew up, and then I went off to school in Richmond, Virginia Union for a while, came to Washington, and my first job was at Industrial Bank. It was at that bank that I realized how much I enjoyed interacting with different people all day long. I was a commercial teller, and all day I'm meeting another personality, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So then I meet this young man who came into the Chili Bowl, and we saw each other, and 2 or 3 days we saw each other, and then finally he sent a little note, and I couldn't respond to the note because back then, 1957, ladies couldn't call a man she didn't know. So I wasn't about to call him, although I thought he was very attractive. But we were finally formally introduced, and he wanted to, when we fell in love and wanted to be married, he wanted to talk about a restaurant, and he worked his way through college by working in restaurants, and he said to me, would I be willing to partner with him in opening a little restaurant? And all I could think about was, wow, more people for me to enjoy. So I said yes. We found this wonderful location on what we call Black Broadway. That was the most important part of the business at the time, to find the ideal location. In those days, the city was segregated, and that area of our community, the Shaw community, was a very special, very prominent, very proud, very dignified community. When I think about that and the way that we conducted ourselves and carried ourselves and all of that was so amazing. We were so self-supported. We had our own black bank, industrial bank, our own hospitals, our own everything. We were not allowed to go downtown for dinner or a movie or anything of that sort, but we didn't need to because we had it in our own community, and we had it very high end, you know. So I loved people. Hospitality was always my thing. And when my husband and I decided to open this little restaurant, and we found that location right down there on U Street, called at the 1213U, which was known as an old silent movie house called the Minnehaha. We opened it, and we decided we could open at 11 o'clock in the morning and close it at 3 a.m. And it was a very lively time and a very lively period. And food, as you know, bring people together. So we also wanted to be a part of that community. And because I had worked at the bank, I knew where to find, you know, whatever we needed. The architect, the contractor, all Black-owned businesses right in the community. And I just felt like this place has become a gathering place. It's a place where people would meet. It's a place where I got to meet Dr. Martin Luther King several times in 1963 while he planned his march on Washington. I was here to go to the march. Ben and I went to that march on August 28, 1963, where he brought 250,000 people here to protest the injustices of Black people. We came away from that feeling very inspired, very motivated, and knowing that change is going to come. Well, of course, we passed the Civil Rights Bill the very next year. Now we're going right along, but 5 years old when he was assassinated, and that was a very difficult time. People were very upset about his death, this wonderful, non-violent leader that had served us so well, taking away from us violently. And eventually some folks got very frustrated and took that frustration out on our community, which was then called the riots. That was a difficult time. But Ben's Chili Bowl has been a big part of that community, and the community recognized that we were there to help if we could. If anybody had a problem that we could help with, we did. And that community has supported me now for 67 years. And when I look back at that, I just feel so blessed that I've had the privilege of serving people from all walks of life. I've served presidents, I've served judges, I've served any profession you can name. I've also served the heroin addicts, the crackheads, and the bums. And my dad taught me when I was a little girl, when you treat everybody the way you want to be treated, you will never have a problem. So I'm just going to say thank you to my community, thank you to my city, and thank you for the people that have supported us all these years.
Just drop the mic and let's finish. Yeah. Really, there's nothing else to say. Like, I have to follow this. Okay. What was the question again? I've heard Mom tell the story so many times, and each time I get like goosebumpy hearing it. Honestly, I really do, because you feel her presence in that moment, in that space. You feel someone who touched Martin Luther King, someone who touched, so many people in history. I mean, it's quite amazing. People like Kwame Ture, people like that came through the space, right? And you sat with them, and you ate with them, and you broke bread with them. Wow. I think that's really cool. I think your question was why, the why. The why for me, I think, is I wanted to make DC great again. I think some of the stuff that was happening in DC, the changes that were happening, were so rapid and so breakneck. There was so much history, as Mom just told us, but I think that history was getting erased very, very quickly. the bowl and Lee's Flores notwithstanding, that history was being wiped out. I remember driving down Black Broadway, U Street, and seeing all the new buildings that were going up, and some of them were being named after some greats here, like the Ellington named after Duke Ellington. And I remember, because I was looking for a space to create this community space where people can come from all walks of life, where racial and cultural connections can be uplifted, where art and culture and politics can collide, where you can have a place to take a deliberate pause for people to sort of just chill and be able to enjoy themselves in this neighborhood. And I remember driving around looking for a space and saw the Ellington, and remembering the history of that area. I was alive during the time when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and I remember the riots that happened, otherwise known as the Intifada of 1968 here. And I remember the streets getting all burned up and buildings getting all torched, and people were very, very angry. And that was my first introduction to race in America, honestly. I came from outside this country. And so I was like, wow, this race thing is serious here, And so when I saw a building named the Ellington, named after Duke Ellington, and saw at the base of the building, there was a tanning salon. It sort of gave you pause, right? I mean, in a street that was called Black Broadway that has so much history, and a building named after one of the greatest Black composers in history, to have a business that is a tanning salon, which doesn't serve the community, doesn't really bring value to the community in any shape or form. I thought, this is really weird. Stuff is getting erased so fast that it somehow, some preservation needs to happen of the history of this area and so on. So that's why I put up the mural. That's why I did this place, because I really wanted a place to belong. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere, and I wanted a place that can actually bring people together from all walks of life, all quadrants of the city, all backgrounds, as you mentioned, Mom, all these people to be able to come and break bread together. And I felt like by doing that, it can actually begin to transform the community. And I think, like all of us said, transform the world. When we say the world, we mean our world, the world we live in right now in this very space. You're not going to change the entire globe, but you can change your corner of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you know what's special, as I'm sitting here watching all of you and then watching the audience, I think each one of you represent what you just said, is you took on that passion to change your world. And so now I'm gonna, the next question is for you, my darling. So your mission is to inspire. And I absolutely love your tagline, fueling inspiration beyond the plate. But knowing you, one of the things that I think you do that's very unique is you balance creativity with a successful business. How do you do that? And then how do you inspire beyond the plate?
Great question. These are really good questions. For me, when I decided to go into culinary, it wasn't a straight path. I always loved food, and food was always a part of my life. But I never thought about being a chef, if I'm being honest. I thought I was going to be a psychiatrist or a lawyer. I even went to school and got a behavioral science degree and decided to go to culinary school right after college. So for me, it was always about people. And I have a background in hospitality, event planning, promotions, everything, retail. So I have a multifaceted background. But for me, the part I always loved was seeing people happy or exceeding an expectation that someone had of an experience. So when I thought about what kind of company I wanted after I left restaurants, we started the Just Savor Group because we really wanted to bring joy and happiness to people, whether it was through catering, whether it's through event planning, whether it's through our community events as well. We just wanted people to be able to savor the moments. So bringing joy has always been a major part of what I wanted to do with my life. And it just happens that I get to do it in a very delicious way. But for me, it's not just about the food. It's about the message that's in the food. You can bring people who have different backgrounds, don't speak the same language, don't have the same circumstances. You can bring them to one table and there's an understanding, there's a kindness, there's an empathy that happens. So I really feel blessed to do what I do. And when I say thinking beyond the plate, it's how can you use whatever your passion is, whether it's food, whether it's event planning, whether it's doing hair, whatever it is. How can you use that passion to affect the community around you in a positive way? How can you use that passion to inspire other people that might not do the exact same thing that you do, but maybe they're struggling in their business and they just need some advice or some encouraging words or to know that they're not alone. So wherever I go, I try my best to inspire, even when I'm not trying to do it on purpose. I just try to be the type of person I would like to look up to. And hopefully I do a good job at that. And hopefully I change the world, even my small world, in a positive way.
You do a fantastic job at that. You're amazing in every way. So, Melvin, barbecue is one of those things that spark debate no matter where you go. Is it in the sauce? Is it the what? Is it the meat? Is it the technique? But we know it's an identity, right? Each region reflects its local ingredients, traditions, and of course, their cultural influences. You, with your signature brisket, you smoke it for 8 to 10 hours. You use a custom sauce. You have your identity and your spices. So you have your identity. But what does barbecue mean to you? And what made you become a pitmaster?
Wow, that's a long question, right? Barbecue is one of those things that just connects everyone. She just mentioned, the different cultures that really enjoy food. I've spoken to people from South America, from Europe, that have come into our location. They simply come into DC and type in, best barbecue, and they end up at 203 Florida Avenue. And I have conversations with them. It's not, so much about the style of barbecue, but they see barbecue, smoked meats. What we do at DCity Smokehouse, we call it DC style barbecue.
Okay.
We take a little bit of, the different styles, the different rubs, the different spices from different, areas as well as cultures, and bring it here in DC. We try to, do that traditional, smoked meats, low and slow, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of heat. All of these things go into it. But the key to me is consistency. I want, when you come today, you come next week, you come next year, I want it to taste the same. I want it to have that same signature taste, that same signature smell. We spoke of, watching people enjoy themselves. One of my purest joys is to see somebody pick up the food, go to the car, and simply eat while in the car before they drive off. And that to me lets me know that
Not everyone does
that not everyone, but they will eat it and really have joy with what they're doing. So to me, that's what brings joy. I'm not a classically trained chef, but I've tinkered from the time growing up, having my roots from North Carolina, Southern Virginia, the family, the reunion, just thinking of the good times that were had around having those type of events is what inspired me to be here today. So again, we've been operating since 2013, and it's been a lot of memories of just people enjoying themselves, even through COVID. There was a time when you couldn't go to restaurants, but we had our outdoor space, so people could feel safe, still enjoying our food even outside. So I have a lot of memories of it, and I feel like DC has been that city that has supported me throughout this. So I really enjoy it, and we hope to be a mainstay like the Benz and the Busboys over time. So we are here to stay.
That's amazing. So if you haven't tried, you know where to go for barbecue. So Mom, listening to your story, and I've heard you tell this story so many times, unlike Andy, every time I still get a little nugget. But what I want to know is, you fed from Dr. King to Harry Belafonte, John Lewis, you've done the march, you've served, you did the people march, all of that. How did that impact you personally, that then in turn impact bands? Like, what did you feel? That must have been so special, just being part during that time. So how did it impact you?
You know, I was so blessed I was so blessed by the good Lord to have me born loving people. I really genuinely enjoy people. And I don't care where they come from or what they look like. I find everybody I meet is interesting in some way. So I had the pleasure of serving, as I said, people from all walks of life. I remember how I felt when I never thought we'd see a black president sitting in our White House. Then I'm sitting up one day and President Obama, who, as soon as he was elected president, and before he was inaugurated, he came to Washington, and the first place he came to eat out was at Ben's Chili Bowl. I just enjoy people so much, and I enjoy, as you said, seeing them enjoy the food and talk about the food. And, you know, it started out with a community where the same people came back day after day after week, the same people. It's got to be good if you keep coming back to eat it, right? So that made me feel very happy, and we felt like we wanted to make everybody feel at home when they walked in that door. We had the old jukebox playing, and it was open until 3 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was happy and enjoying a really good Ben's chili dog, I think, with this homemade spicy chili. The barbecue part is just, you know, welcoming people. When people come in with the barbecue, I think there's so many variations of it. You can have your own name on it because everybody makes it a little differently. I grew up on a farm where we would slaughter their hogs and build and cure the hams and make the sausage. All of it was done right there at home. So it was just a wonderful way I'm inspired by people, and I'm energized by people. And I still, at the age of, I'm going to be 92 in December. I love being at Ben's Chili Bowl, and I love going there every day. I had a little accident, haven't been able to do as much, but I love being there. When I walk in that door, and I've been there for 30 minutes, I don't have a headache, I don't have anything, I'm just happy. And the people around me are happy, so I'm having a good time.
No, that is true. She definitely has a well-balanced life, and I love that. She has great friends and amazing, amazing life. So, Andy, you just wrote a book. What made you write this book? And even the title is interesting. It's A Seat at the Table, the making of Busboys and Poets. Tell us about that.
I think I like to write, so despite the fact that it turned out to be a book, I was writing anyway. It's something that I find very enjoyable and relaxing to sit and write and kind of put your thoughts on paper, kind of takes them out of your head and you're less clutter inside your brain. And one of the things that I think inspired me to write is a lot of people were asking, how did you come up with the idea of Busboys and Poets? And it's not like it's any special idea. It's, you know, bookstores have been around forever. Restaurants have been around forever. Stages have been around forever. Poetry's been around forever. So there's nothing original necessarily about what we do. But I think putting them together is what really created the synergy that I think made us who we are. And that came through, in fact, even when I went to try to get a loan. I don't know if you know this, Mom, but I went to several banks and I was turned down. It was Industrial Bank that ended up giving me my loan, my very first loan. And I've been a loyal customer ever since. Industrial Bank was the one that got the idea, because when I took the business plan, I had no idea what a business plan would look like. I've never had to make a business plan, so I wasn't a business person. I was creating this out of passion, not business interests, and so I didn't know what a business plan was, other than tell people what you're going to do. It was one piece of paper, literally 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And I've seen business plans now where I have like people come, and I try to mentor some folks sometimes that want to do their business. They come with a business plan this thick with like leather binder and really pretty and beautiful print and color graphs and all this. Like, okay, whatever. It doesn't impress me. It's like, okay, how are you going to make this work? And also a pro forma, the idea of a pro forma. And I didn't know what a pro forma was. I just knew it was like, you're supposed to bring in more money than you spend. And that was kind of the whole thing. And that made perfect sense to me. That's what business is. So when I put together, I remember putting the Excel sheet of how many seats and how much money per seat and how many people are going to come per day and so on and so forth. And at the bottom line, it should show a positive number. And I remember the guy at Industrial Bank said to me, your pro forma, which really looked silly. It wasn't like a real serious pro forma. He said, the amount of money you're asking and the loan that you're asking doesn't jibe. It just doesn't make sense. And I said, well, what would you like me to do? He said, we need to change the numbers. And I thought, okay, that's how business works. You just change the numbers. It's all a guessing game, right? No one knows how many people are going to come through the door. You can't predict the future. No one knows how much they're going to spend. No one knows whether you're going to be successful or not. It's all a guessing game. And so, the idea of just putting these numbers. So I went home, retyped the exact same Excel sheet, put new numbers in the holes, and suddenly I got the loan. It's like, it was my, huh? But exactly. It was like the first time that I learned, that's how business works, It was really funny. But so all of these little things that happen, I thought they were stories that I could share with people and make it so that it's not so, I think a lot of times when they see places like this or any place really that they go to that looks overwhelming, it looks like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do this. But it's not easy work, obviously. It's hard work, but it's also pretty basic. It's not rocket science, and it doesn't require anything other than common sense and grit. Really, that's what it requires. And I wanted to just put that on paper for people to see and tell my story. I think my story also, because a lot of people, when they were coming in here, when we first opened the place, they said, is the owner black? That was like one of the most common questions that we got. Is the owner black? And I couldn't understand why they were asking that, but then I could. The artwork, the music, just the feel of the space has that, but I didn't think of it as necessarily black in that sense. I thought of it as, this is the world I live in. This is the space I want to be in. So call it whatever. I call it, this is my America, and this is how I see the world. It's not necessarily, obviously I'm very conscious of color. You can't live in America and not be conscious of color, clearly. But I also understood that this is the type of world that I see and the type of world that I want to live in, where you have this feeling of just different people coming together and sort of kind of transcending that fake concepts that we create of race, of ethnicity, of religion, and all these things that really a lot of times work to divide us. And I wanted to kind of figure out a way to make us less divided as human beings to one another. really. So I wanted to put that on paper. That's why I wrote it.
But that's pretty beautiful. But what's really cool is now you have 8 locations. So obviously there's a need for that type of space. And you obviously feel it when you enter the space. So thank you for creating that.
What's funny, Vita, is that those same people, the same banks, because I got turned down by Riggs Bank. It used to be Riggs before PNC, the old Riggs, Bank of America, a couple of other banks turned me down. And those same banks are like breaking down my door now to give me money once they realize that this is a successful enterprise. You know, it's funny, they don't have the vision to invest. And I think that's one of the advantages of having local banks like Industrial, is they actually understand the community and understand the potential the community has, as opposed to from the outside, who says, he thinks, oh, well, this is a community that's going to serve a lot of Black people, and it's not really worth it. It seems like it's too big of a risk, so they don't take it. But anyway, that was another thing.
So that leads into my next question. If anyone knows the panelists, you guys carry yourselves where you don't think you have a bad day, because you walk like you're blessed. Every day you walk as if you're blessed. So tell us, what was your biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
I don't know that I have a specific challenge. I think every day is laced with challenges. But I think the important thing is you have to have perspective in your challenge. For me, I'm very faithful. I know that none of this is possible without God in my life. As I said before, I feel very blessed to do what I do. So when I wake up in the morning, that's my first blessing right there, because there's a lot of people who didn't get that chance. So I try my best, no matter how complicated the day is, when other people try to steal my joy, because there's a lot of people who walk around and they're not happy. They're not excited about life. So their main job in life is to make other people miserable. And there's a lot of unhappy people, even though the food's delicious when you work in food industry, particularly, and hospitality. There's a lot of unhappy people that come in those doors and the customer's always right and they don't talk to you the right ways. And some people have issues with, oh, you're just a cook, or you're just a busboy, or you're just this, you're just that. So I think all of my experiences from a young age all the way through my career have taught me to be patient, be kind, be the type of person I would like other people to be when they're interacting with me, show grace, understand that everyone has struggles and everyone is going through something. And that attitude that you're experiencing isn't about you. It's about whatever just happened in their life. They just can't articulate or deal with it at that moment, so it comes out in different ways. So I think all the challenges that I face, I just always try to take a moment and make a good decision in that moment. And just always try to understand that people are going through things. So it's never really about me. It's about whatever's happening in their world, and I keep moving. And as long as I can be joyful and I can bring happiness to the world and I can continue to do what I do, it's a good day.
That's beautiful. I love that. I wouldn't want to follow her, by the way. She has like perfect.
I was going to say again, ditto, right?
Ditto.
That's, I mean, having the faith is very important. Having patience is extremely important. You ask about a challenge. The first thing that comes to mind is building a restaurant through COVID. We opened our Southeast location. I took possession of the property roughly in 22, but it took us about 14 months to actually build it out, go through the process because of COVID. So you have to have your faith. I had just understanding that, this is where God placed me. This is the expectation, and having the patience to kind of work through it. Some days you need a little more patience than others, but it's challenging. You don't go into this expecting fun times all the time. You go into it knowing that this is a business. You are interacting with a lot of people. There are a lot of moving parts. through the process. So having some, compassion for those that you're working with, having some patience with those, and just really understanding. For me, it's just I want a good outcome, so I'm going to keep pushing until I get that good outcome. So that has really been my mantra, throughout these 11 plus years of doing business.
Thank you. We've had lots of challenges, of course, but we opened the Chili Bone on August 22nd, 1958, and we were married 10 years before we had a week's vacation together. We took a vacation, but one of us stayed to be sure that the Chili Bowl was going to be all right and being cared for. I always said nobody loves your child or your business as much as you do. So we found that necessary to do. We've had wonderful team members over the years, and I have to say there's been help, and you learn from everybody. I had a little inner city girl that taught me more than I knew. I think taught me more than I taught her, just by dealing with when we had the problem with the drugs in the community. Just being there, and she knew what to look for. She would point it out to me, and then I could go over and have a conversation with somebody respectfully. When you respect people, drug addicts and drug sellers are people too. So when you respect them and treat them the way you want to be treated, they respect you back. And I found that I've had an awful lot of help along the way. So the challenges, like you said, when you have a positive attitude, when you feel like you are doing what you have passion for, loving people and wanting to make people happy and feel comfortable when they come into your restaurant and want them to be happy with the food, it's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. It is, isn't it? It is. So I make friends. I make friends from all walks of life, and I have people now coming from all over the world and making a big deal out of it. So I'm like, what is this? They come and I said, where are you from? Russia. Where are you from? They're from all over the world. And it's very interesting, but the whole idea of just having I tell young people, whatever it is you want to do, make sure that you're passionate about it. If you enjoy what you do, it's not really hard work. And I do enjoy what I do. So I'm inspired by what I see people able to do. You can open a big place like Busboys and Poets, and we've all done very well, and there's more to come. I simply love the idea of having people from all walks of life and all cultures. I love learning about everybody else's food. I want to hear about their religion and their culture, because we're all just people.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. One of my biggest challenges is air conditioning. Drives me goddamn nuts. I'll tell you again. We've had so many contractors come here and take a look at it, trying to do something about it. I think we're going to have to change the whole motor in order to make it work. But anyway, that's But I also feel it's a little bit helpful to once in a while just wake you up. It's in case it gets boring, it gives you an opportunity to wake up. There's when you're in business for so many years, you kind of like the challenges change. It used to be like the biggest challenge was a backed up drain. And it was like, oh my God, the world's going to end. And suddenly like, oh, whatever, And then, you have this and then you have that. And then when Trump was first elected the last time in 2017, I was on a tear, as many restaurants were, about his attack on immigrants. And I was really upset. And I remember Jose Andres one time called and he said, what are we going to do about this? We should do a day without immigrants. I don't know if you remember that day where a lot of restaurants closed for the day to show the world that immigrants are actually part of our community. They're the fabric of our community. And oftentimes, in restaurants particularly, immigrants, Latinos from South and Central America are key folks in this industry. And so we closed the restaurants. We closed all of our places that day. And we had, I was doing interviews on every channel everywhere, CNN, NBC, CNBC, all these places. About 2 weeks later, we get hit with an ICE papers. So ICE descended on us in a very serious way. And they told us that we have 10 days. First, they wanted to come in. We told them, no, you're not allowed to come in. Then they said, you have 10 days to come up with the name of every single employee, the name, address, social security number, where they live, et cetera, et cetera. Well, obviously, for a business the size of our place, we try to do everything above board, obviously, but who knows where people are? Who knows what everyone's background is? I don't know, Anyway, it went through an entire year of constant legal battle with ICE. We prevailed at the end, but it was one of the most challenging moments that I remember having. But it really does speak a lot. And I don't know, but I think this administration is so vindictive and so disgusting and so cruel that I find it really hard to feel good about being an American. And I'm an American by choice. I'm a naturalized citizen. And I have people like Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz is an asshole, but I have people like what's his name? Marco Rubio, deciding whether or not I'm worthy of being in this country. Seriously, dude. He has to decide whether I'm worthy of being in this country. And he has, apparently, he thinks he does, has the power to take my naturalization away because he doesn't like what I say, And so that really is disturbing. I see like a disturbing thing happening in America. I really do. And I think there's not enough people who are willing to stand up. Not enough people. A lot of people are, but it's too easy to just kind of like stay under the radar and not say something. It's too easy to do that. And Nicole Hannah, and I'm sorry to go off on this tangent, but Nicole Hannah-Jones of the 1619 Project wrote that it was Black people that ensured that democracy is upheld in this country. If it wasn't for Black people, we would be in the throes of fascism much sooner than we are heading. So it was Black people that fought for civil rights. It was Black people that fought for voting rights. It was Black people and so many other people benefited because of that, right? Now, it's white people that need to do this. It's white and Jewish people that need to stand up because they're the ones that have privilege today. And it's unfair to tell Black people and brown people to constantly be carrying the water and constantly be able to make this democracy a more perfect union. It's time for others as well to stick their neck out and be in the front. I know that oftentimes white people are not the ones that are going to be impacted by policies. So for them, it's like, okay, I don't have to do anything. If I just sit back, it's going to be fine. But I think it's important for us to ask our white friends and tell them, you need to be in the front line because it's too dangerous for immigrants. It's too dangerous for Black people to be in the front line today. Because this administration has shown itself a complete disregard to law. When they asked Kristi Noem, who is supposed to be the head of Homeland Security, what is the meaning of habeas corpus? Her answer was the power for the president to deport people. It's like, I carry the Constitution with me. I carry it everywhere I go. That's not habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is due process. You have to actually show evidence. You have to stand before a court. And it's terrible that we have thugs and uneducated people who are intentionally being cruel, intentionally being nasty today in this country. My heart bleeds for America, really. And I hope that we continue to speak up and continue to be in the front. So when you ask me what are the challenges, that's my biggest challenge really today, is as a business, I want to stand for what I believe in. Otherwise, what's the point? The world doesn't need another salad. The world doesn't need another burger place, honestly. You know, the world needs just more compassion, more love, more care. And I feel like sometimes we have to use our platforms for that purpose. If we have a voice, there are so many people that don't. We have to use that voice. And I try to use my business, any chance I have, to be able to speak about these things. Because if I can't be free, nobody can be free. If nobody can be free, I cannot be free. It has to be everybody or nobody. And we have to really think of us that way. That's how I see the main challenge we have today is how can we as business people speak up? How can we as business people have the confidence and the courage to continue to stand up for the values, to stand up to change the world? You know, changing the world isn't just a thing, as you say. You have to really act it, you know? How many people did you call from Congress today? How many people did you tell, you know, that they need to do the right thing? How many people are being arrested right in front of you and you don't say anything? That's what I challenge the people that come in here all the time. And that gets exhausting. Stop coming.
But you know, that's why I love this, all of you, because I think in each way, each one of you do that. Like listening to you, Huda, and knowing you, you sprinkle that joy. Even though you feel the pain that Andy feels, I think we all feel it, but I've learned to understand that we all sprinkle it differently, you know, and that's the beauty of it. But I think the more we sprinkle and the more we believe in the higher. Mom has a saying that probably most elders do, because just the wisdom of time, this too shall pass. So we hold on to that, keep sprinkling love, joy, and hope, and trust that there's something higher always working amongst us. So as we say those words, is there anyone in the audience that have a question?
So I just about the creative process of writing. Just like want to know, I'm sure it's the first person because of your story, but how did you, I guess, divide the chapters? Is there some sort of theme to your story? Is it chronological? Is it thematic?
When I started writing the book, it was Busboys and Poets. We're celebrating 20 years this year. So yeah, it's not 67 years, but but we're working on it. So we're celebrating the 20 years. So I decided to do it from experiences that I've had growing up in this country. I came here when I was 10 years old. I turned 70 this year. I know. It's funny when you turn 70, you start getting applause, by the way. For those of you that are not 70 yet, it's going to come. It's funny. When I told people like I was 60, nobody applauded. But 70, for some reason, is this kind of tipping point. It's like, oh, you're still alive? My goodness. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I'm still alive. But it was like little periods in my life, experiences in restaurants, different places. I worked in many different restaurants, opened several other restaurants before opening Busboys and Poets. So it starts out with me coming to the United States as a 10-year-old child in 1966, or 11-year-old child, 1966, and then to the opening of Busboys and Poets, and it stops at the opening of Busboys and Poets. So I didn't go into all the stuff that's happened since, which is probably 4 books by itself. You know, there's so much that has happened since we opened, and I didn't want it to be about that. I wanted it to be about the process, because that's the question I was asked: what made you do this place? And I just wanted to explain that.
There you go.
Question for you as well. Sally talked about the intentionality of her location in U Street. What was your intention about the 8 locations that you had? Are you going to continue to evolve throughout the area?
So this place, the intentionality was obvious. This was Black Broadway. This is the U Street corridor. This was kind of the birthplace of the civil rights movement in DC, really, in many ways. This very corner that we stand in, you know, the SNCC office was over there. You know, like there's a lot that happened in this. The first brick, if I'm not mistaken, was the People's Drugstore there at 14th and U, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. That was the first brick when Martin Luther King was assassinated and was burned and looted and all that. But anyway, so that was kind of the original. After that, my business model is such that the landlords are the ones, I hate that word, landlord, sounds so ancient and weird, but the owners of the buildings who want me there, owners of developments, are the ones that come to me and ask me to open a place. I have never, since opening this place, I've never gone and sought a place. It's always, they come to me. And that serves a couple of purposes. One is they want me, so they're gonna pay through the nose, as they should. And number two, it gives me many options for other places to be able to look at. So I am very selective in places where I go because I want to be in places that are not totally gentrified. I like to be in places that have mixed communities at some level. I like to be kind of at the edge as opposed to in the middle. And, being near university is always a plus. So I've been very kind of mindful in places that I go. And usually they're places that are oftentimes seen as transitional and not certain. Like when we opened Hyattsville, for instance, Route 1 was like, there was nothing there, if you recall. And people were saying, like, what were you thinking? Why are you thinking? Well, but it's our top grossing place right now, is Hyattsville. So there was, I saw the potential, and I think it really helps to have been in this community for for 70, almost like, I guess, 60 years. It helps to be, you feel it. It's like I don't do like market research. I don't do like, counting number of feet they walk by and how many people are going to sit and all that. It was like, it feels right. And that usually works.
Anyone else? Okay, so then I would like to close off with one last question to all of you. What legacy do you hope to leave, not just on the plate or business, but in your community and the lives you've touched?
These are really good questions.
Why, thank you.
She's good. You know that? Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
Smell a talk show.
What legacy do you want to leave? Not just on the plate, but for people to see. See, she's smart. She already knows the answer. The rest of us, I think. Here you go.
Growing up as a child, I always remember what was important in my little community and my family. If I've helped somebody along the way, then I will not have lived my life in vain. So I'm fine with that. But the legacy of my chili bowl, I just wanted to, if my sons and their wives are now taking care of my bench chili bowl, and the legacy is up to them. I just say to them, whatever you do, you go into a community, make sure that you respect that community. In our case, it was an African-American segregated community. So we had what was the name of that music on the jukebox, Vita? The jukebox music?
Oh, Motown.
The Motown kept us happy on the jukebox. Every night, 2 o'clock in the morning, when the chili bowl was packed with people, they were happy people. But I'm saying I would like that legacy to continue to be part of a community. Wherever you go, learn what that music is like and learn what the community is like. And give it your best effort at all times.
If I could just follow up with her, how would you want people to remember Virginia Ali? If you were to say, and I'm sorry to ask you this question because I asked that of my mom, who just passed away. Virginia Ali was sentenced.
Virginia Ali was did her best to treat people the way she wanted to be treated. That's it.
I love it.
Yes. All I want them to know.
I love it. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, who's next?
You know, it's interesting you asked a question about legacy because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And my hope is to inspire people to live life with purpose, to follow their dreams. And hopefully I inspire people who look like me and that don't look like me. I hope that in everything that I do that's public facing, really inspires and speaks to someone. Because I really truly feel that all of us have a part in each other's stories, whether you know it or not. We're all connected. And the more we can do to live in our authentic selves and walk towards our purpose and the reason we are here, the better the world will be. So I just hope I can play a very small part in inspiring people to really follow their dreams, their passions, and live in their truth.
Love that.
I love it.
Very simple. From my experience, short window compared to the legacies that are on the stage. I just like to be a valuable part of the community. We're located in Bloomingdale as well as Anacostia. Both of those, I've done a major part of trying to be a part of the community. Participating in meetings, throwing events, block parties, things like that, where I am a part of the community. The restaurant is a part of the community. So I very much, want to keep that legacy going, hopefully grow this business so I can pass it on to my family, pass it on to my son, and, help, and make sure that he's watching and understanding the approach that I want to continue to see. So that would be my legacy.
I want to be able to have this place outlive me. I think that's my goal, is that this place can continue to evolve and change with the next generation of folks that will take it over. And that's always been the hardest, letting go of your baby, is being able to hand it to others and trust that they're going to continue in that vein. It's funny, we had at one time I wanted to go the franchise route, and so I had a guy, I think one of your guys, I think Nizam introduced me to him. He came in here and he was talking to me, and he walked in here and says, "I don't think we could franchise this." And he said, because it has too many moving parts, and the politics that add that into it, it's going to be really, really hard for somebody to take this on. And then I didn't want to become just another, cookie cutter place. Each one of the murals on these walls, I do myself personally, So for me,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I do the murals.
I didn't know.
So, and each one is different. Every location has a different mural. And so it's done with a lot of thought, a lot of care, a lot of attention. And I thought, it could easily turn into wallpaper, and they'll just kind of stick it on a wall somewhere and say, "This is another Busboys." And it's like, okay, it gets kind of boring. And I never opened a place to just have more places, really. It was just kind of to, like we said, is to really make a significant change in preserving and enhancing the country that I love, the country that has become my home. And I always feel like immigrants and people like myself are the ones that will continue to preserve that, because we're the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. We're the first to feel it. And we're the ones that pull the alarms and say, hey, shit's coming down our way and you need to wake up. So that's the legacy I want to leave.
Well, thank you all so much. I feel blessed to know all of you guys, and I'm glad our lives are intertwined. So thank you for sharing the stage with me today. To all of you, thank you so much for enjoying, spending the evening with us. And I hope your hearts are filled. And as Andy said it best, I'll leave with these last words. remember, none of us are free unless all of us are free. So enjoy your evening, and we'll say until the next time.